Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Recently, Russian government has claimed that China is Russia's closest ally in terms of geopolitics. In my books, actions speak much louder than words, and you gotta look at the actions of your so-called friends or allies or partners. And just about a couple days ago, a very alarming and a very like showcase action happened in China. China made a move. It had a 5-year Congress of the Communist Party. Basically, it's a huge Congress that the Communist Party gets all the members together and discusses, plans for the next 5 years and talks about the results, achieved in the previous 5 years. And there were two things interesting. First, Xi Jinping was elected for another term as the president of China. Not good. We'll talk about it later. Second, concerned Russia directly. The Chinese government, Chinese Communist Party, has accepted the resolution that states that by 2035, there must be a bipolar world with two centers. One, the United States, another, China. Not single word is said about Russia. Like Russia doesn't exist. If that is not a sign to the Russian government, to the people in charge, if that is not a direct warning, if that is not a siren for the Russians, then honestly, I don't know what the warning and what the siren is. Howdy, howdy. My name is Konstantin, and welcome to Inside Russia. I, as always, give you the updates on what is happening in Russia, what I think is important, what latest news come out that hold urgent importance for my country and pretty much for the world now. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me another chance to hear my message. And I'm going to be talking about what place Russia holds right now, is holding right now in the world of international politics. In Russia, we call it geopolitics. Let's figure this out. I'm going to take you few steps back into history. I usually do, so you understand where Russia, modern day Russia, is coming from. The USSR was a major geopolitical player, major power in the 20th century. Okay, there were two major powers, the United States and the West, led by the United States, and Russia and the so-called Eastern Bloc, the Russian satellites. Soviet Union was indeed the major player. It had indeed a very strong army. It had indeed the capability of doing pretty much anything, engaging into a war, taking countries. It was a sinister country, but it was real. It was very powerful. It had technologies, cutting-edge military technologies, and the army was strong. But things happened, and the Soviet Union disappeared from the map of the world. It disintegrated into 16 states, former Soviet republics, where Russia, is the biggest, the mightiest state, the largest state of all. The disintegration happened in 1991, and following 10 years were very hard, very challenging, both for Russians and for all the sovereign states, independent states, former Soviet republics. Basically, the countries were searching for their own way of living on this world, for their own place in this world. They started fresh from zero. I mean, things don't happen overnight, and Russia including, all had very tough times. But then it took 10 years to figure things out, and the following 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, in Russian case 2014, we call them the golden years, the rich years, because Russia started doing well financially. Things happened. It started using its resources more wiser, and it actually, the price for the resources, the world market prices, they started growing for everything, for phosphates, for metals, for wood, for oil, gas, and so forth. And Russia started benefiting greatly. And there's so much money started inflowing into Russia, and all of a sudden, Russians found themselves very well off. I would even say rich, okay? Swimming in money. And first 10 years of the 21st century, things were actually well, because the government was there, but it did not play the sinister role that it started playing later, okay? The government was just, it was not much into people's way, so to speak, and people were just doing fantastic. I remember those times very well. I think the best time Russia has had in the history of its own existence. But then Russia started emerging as a player in the international politics, because in the 90s it did not exist as a player. Soviet Union disappeared, and all those countries that were left after the USSR, they also disappeared from political map of the world. That was the United States, and Russia we called hegemon, okay, the only country that was setting the rules, so to speak. It had no competition. It won the Cold War. It won the race. And then, the United States was, you can't be just without competition, and you cannot keep on developing. So the United States had its next nemesis, world terrorism. It announced a war on terrorism in 2001, and it was, taking countries' focus to a certain direction. And Russia was actually becoming a player, a strong player, not the major player, but a strong player. And it was making its way back onto the world's map. Vladimir Putin, young Russia's president, was very active, was very... at first, he was actually decent somewhat, and he was absolutely brilliant. Him and his team, led by Sergei Lavrov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they were absolutely brilliant in using Russia's resources as the leverage in international politics. Russia, for so many decades, were pumping natural gas into Europe. It had a couple pipelines. Actually, it had a pipeline going through Ukraine, and Meanwhile, in the 2000s, it built another pipeline, called it the Baltic Stream, okay? And then it built another one called Nord Stream. And then later, much later, it built another one called Turkish Stream. And then it built another one, called it Nord Stream 2. So, meanwhile, Russia was taking advantage of rising prices and pumping more and more oil and gas into Europe, its best customer, closest ally, and all over the world, basically. It used the resources, it used the money, the revenues it was getting from the sales of resources to gain influence in the world, in Latin America, in Europe, in Africa somewhat, in the Central Asia. And again, I still think that Vladimir Putin and his team of foreign experts on foreign policy was excellent, okay, in the past. And they actually succeeded. Russia was doing well financially again, the economy was doing well, and Russia was back to the map. And in about 2013, 2012, 2014, very early 2014, the culmination of Russia's comeback was the Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Sochi, okay? And then Russia won the football World Cup championship coming up in 2018. Things were actually looking bright for Russia. I can even say it was back with a bang onto the map of world politics. Then, meanwhile, during the 20 years, 90s and 2000s, China was growing financially and economically. China was becoming a economic powerhouse. It was non-existent in early 90s when the Soviet Union was breaking up. China was considered underdeveloped country. The United States helped tremendously to develop it. It outsourced most of its manufacturing to China. It gave the Chinese the technologies, and actually, basically, it provided the market for the goods that were manufactured in China. They were mostly sold in the United States. The USA is still the biggest market for China. So China was growing. Europe was also growing. From a land of small and larger independent states, in the 90s, Europe solidified as the European Union. And it emerged as a major player in world's politics, right? So by 2014, we had the United States, the hegemon, the country that was leading everyone, reigning over everyone. We had the European Union, economic powerhouse that was putting up challenges to the United States and basically was trying to establish itself on the world's map. Actually had established itself already, okay? That I'm wrong about that. It was an established player. And China, of course, economic powerhouse, also established. In Russia, sort of an old newcomer, So that's where we were standing in 2014. And then something happened. A major change in Russia's behavior in international politics. Russia annexed Crimea, and Russia stirred things up in Donbass. Lugansk and Donetsk peoples, breakaway provinces of Ukraine. We all know the story, okay? And by that move, Russia established itself as the major player. Not very good one, not very righteous one, but the major anyway, because that power was actually changing the geopolitics around it. Okay? It annexed part of another country, a sovereign country neighbor. It established a military base in Syria, and it helped keep the Syrian regime alive. Also fought ISIS, the terrorist organization. It made allies in the Middle East with Turkey. Turkey is very close with Russia now. And it started influencing the regions, okay? It started teaming up with countries. Iran had signed a military alliance, a union alliance, a military partnership with China. So Russia established itself as the major player again. And yet, somehow the world swallowed it. Didn't do much about, annexation, didn't do much about, the union with China and so forth. It accepted Russia's actions as given. Not necessarily they agreed with the actions, they disagreed quite a bit, okay, but they didn't do much. And Russia was still doing quite well for following 8 years. Prices for oil were growing, natural gas prices were growing, raising, and Russia was just raking in money. Russian economy wasn't doing that well, but that was an internal matter. Russian government controlled all the money, and they didn't make life. How do I say that? They didn't internally. They were keeping Russian people economically at bay, if you know what I mean. But they were raking in huge revenues from sales of natural resources, and Russian budget surplus was record high in 17, 18, 19, and so forth. Then, so Russia wasn't doing that bad. Russians were welcomed, rich Russians were welcomed abroad. Russian politicians enjoyed nice lifestyle for 2 or 3 countries. They worked in Russia, and they had their families abroad in Italy, in France, in the United States. Top politicians, and I'm talking about the top politicians, not just like small-time guys on the ground, I'm talking about the decision makers, all right? Their families, their sons, daughters, wives were U.S. citizens, French citizens, European Union citizens. And Vladimir Putin successfully Russian people changed the constitution, and it was orchestrated, back in 2020, a couple years ago, that allowed Vladimir Putin to remain the president, to be elected as the president for 2 more terms. So 14 more years, so to speak, at 2020. So he could remain the president, he could be elected for 2 more years, and if he did, he would remain the president until 2034, according to the Russian constitution. Not breaking the law, so to speak. So life was good. Russia was respected in the world. It had allies, true allies. It helped other countries financially. Of course, it had opponents, but NATO did not even consider Russia as a threat. Okay, it started considering China as a threat, but Russia was somewhere there. Okay, like one of the bad schoolboys misbehaving a little bit. Everything changed in February 2022. Russia attacked and invaded Ukraine. Big time. Bloodshed. Ukrainians started dying. Russians started dying. Big mess. Well, you all know the story. I've been telling you that this developing story for the past 8 months, every single day. Tragedy. Why Russia did that, I still don't understand. It does not and did not make any sense whatsoever. Some crazy reasons. They announced it was denazification, demilitarization of Russia. Well, of course, lots of people knew it was not true. But what were the real reasons? Unknown until this very single day, this very today. what happened in the following 8 months? You know what happened to Titanic? It sank. But before it sank, about 90 minutes before it sank, it hit an iceberg. And right after it hit an iceberg, it just scraped the hull, and it made holes in the hull, and it kept on going. And people noticed a shake, but no one knew what was happening. And people kept on with their lives. They kept on playing cards. They kept on eating. They kept on making love. They kept on listening to the music and just conversing for about 30 minutes. And then the siren went off, and everyone started evacuating. Well, children and women started evacuating. And then minutes later, Titanic drowned. It sank. Not drowned, sank. And so many thousands of people, drowned, died. The thing is, the fate of Titanic was decided when it hit the iceberg. At that moment, it was clear that Titanic was going down. Done deal. Well, same thing with Russia. It attacked Ukraine. It started, it invaded Ukraine. Russian tanks started rolling on Ukrainian soil. Russian soldiers started killing Ukrainian soldiers, and the civilians were killed in the process. Back then, once it started, it became crystal clear that Russia is done. Just like Titanic, okay? It's not rocket science. If you can put two and two together, you can understand what happened and what is about to come, what was about to come and what is to come. And what is happening now, in the recent months, actually is not a surprise. Of course, some things a surprise to me, for example, mobilization at a certain time, but I kind of foresaw that happening back in February and March. Okay, for the first few weeks, there was a chance that Russia would de-escalate and would come back to senses. Okay, things would be bad, but not catastrophical. But Russia did not de-escalate; it started escalating. So basically, it was a done deal. What followed was complete isolation of Russia from the world. Not just the world politics, but from the world. Everywhere. Economy, sanctions. The word sanctions, it doesn't explain what has happened to Russia. The companies haven't just pulled out of Russia, the Western companies. The Western governments have not just placed sanctions on Russian banks and so forth. It's different. Russia has been cut out. All links that connected Russia to the rest of the world, they have been cut. Well, almost all. And Russia ceased to exist as educational center, medical center, scientific center, sports center, financial center, economic center, consumer center, production center. That's it. It does not exist for the world. It has disappeared from the political map of the world. Of course, Russia is still there. Okay, we're Russians. Some are in Russia, some have left, but Russia is still there. Russian government is still there, and it's doing things, terrible things, tragical things, to Ukraine. It's still doing it. But it is considered, how do I say that right? A virus? And it's being dealt with. And sooner or later, Russia will lose. It has already lost. It's just, it will finish. It will be finished, so to speak. Why? Because Russia Russian economy is collapsing. I'm going to do the stream tomorrow explaining what is happening now. Okay, I've been telling you that economic tsunami is coming. No, my friends, it's not economic tsunami. That's a complete collapse, and it's happening now. Okay, and the economy cannot sustain the army. Okay, the Russian army is also, how to say, it turned out to be a paper tiger, probably the right expression. And it simply cannot advance, but it's, in Russia, they call it regrouping fast. It's regrouping and it's going other places, okay? That's what happens when Ukrainian forces advance. That's not what they were telling us back then. You see, but that is the picture that is seen from outside Russia. I'm seeing that picture. I'm in Uzbekistan, and Uzbek people, they understand what's going on. Their positions are fairly clear on what is happening. And I basically I read the media of other countries, and I see how Russia is perceived these days. But that's not what Russians are told inside Russia. They are painted a very different picture. They are told that on 24th of February, masks were finally off. And we understood in Russia that the collective West, led by the United States, are enemies. And they have been trying to destroy Russia for the past 50 years. They destroyed the USSR, and then they were trying to destroy Russia completely. And this is the war with the collective West. Has nothing to do with Ukraine. Okay, that's what we've been told. We are the righteous ones. We're uniting the Russian world. We're protecting the Russian people. Okay, in Ukraine, and we're winning because the truth is behind us. The truth is ours, so to speak. The truth is us. Truth is us. And everything's going according to the plan. Mobilization, according to the plan. Yeah, it doesn't really matter that Vladimir Putin promised himself on March 8th in front of pretty much entire Russia that there will be no mobilization and military goals in Ukraine will be achieved by the professional army. And then he himself declared mobilization on 21st of September. 6 months after, it doesn't matter. This just small details, they're not important. What is important is that we are fighting for the righteous goal, okay? No one really has explained in details, and when you start asking questions, why things the way they're going the way they're going and so forth, they label you as traitor. Okay, they don't answer your questions, but it doesn't matter because they're painting this big picture to the Russian people, and many Russian people are, falling for it. They believe it, but it doesn't matter because the Titanic has been hit. Russia has pressed the button in February, and the entire world, 194 countries, voted to accept the resolution against Russia's action in Ukraine in, I believe, February or early March. That's pretty much, majority of the world, most countries in the world. 30 abstained, and I think 6 were against it. So pretty much the entire world is against Russia, and Russia cannot just cannot fight the entire world. It's not strong enough, okay? So where is Russia standing politically right now? It's an island. It's isolated. And the question is, what's going to happen to Russia after its loss? Okay? What happens after everything is over? Well, Russian government has been relied heavily on China. China, all of a sudden, is our partner, is our friend, and some say our savior, because it will save us financially and it will save us military. Well, guess what? I have some pretty bad news to the Russians who believe that. Vladimir Putin visited the Olympics in February, and he met Xi Jinping, and they signed a document that stated that the world must be multi-central, meaning there should be different centers of influence. The United States, China, Russia, and perhaps other countries like European Union and so forth. That was even before the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. 6 months later, well, a little over 8 months later, let's say that. 8 months later, at this Congress, 5-yearly Congress of the Communist Party of China, the Communist Party came out with an official document that a strategical plan of development of China. And it clearly states that the world by year of 2035 must be bipolar. I think the bipolar is the right word. There must be two centers of influence in the world. The first is the United States and the second is China. Russia is not mentioned there. Russia was not brought up once during this Congress. Chinese are acting as if Russia does not exist. They know that Titanic has been hit and it's going down. Well, what's going to happen to Russia? This is where Russia is standing right now in October of 2022 in the world of international politics. It has no place. It is simply, its fate is being decided right now between the West and China. And I think China is winning in this game. China has announced its goals, and it has shown that it's becoming very aggressive. It's becoming very active in fulfilling these goals that they've created for themselves. Taiwan is one of the goals. It must be Chinese, they say. And I think a secret goal is Russia. At least they didn't say anything about it, but it's obvious. In order to withstand and compete with the United States, including economically, China cannot do that right now. At this stage, China is doing not well financially, but it needs a boost, economic boost. And you know where that boost is going to come from? From my country, from Russia, from the resources that Russia possesses. If you look at the map, you will see that Russia and China are neighbors. It has thousands, they have thousands of kilometers of border. And the only question that I cannot answer right now is what kind of a takeover will be executed by the Chinese? Direct military takeover of part of Russia or parts of Russia? Very possible. Can Russian army defend Russia right now? I doubt it. Will it be buying up Russian politicians and becoming a proxy and making Russia a proxy state through the politicians who will sell their souls and their lives to the Chinese? Very possible. Will it be some kind of agreement, official agreement, that Russia will be forced to sign with China on Chinese conditions, allowing Chinese to freely use Russia's resources of some parts, perhaps something like that. You see, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure China will exert great influence over Russia, and Russia will fall under its complete control. Russia will not become a major player or any player in the international politics after this conflict with Ukraine is over. The future of Russia in the world politics, international politics, is pretty grim. And the United States and the Western countries and Europe, they should watch out, because once Russia is fallen to China, China will indeed become a superpower. And it will indeed be able to threaten the United States, Europe, Australia, and other Western countries. This might happen, and the chances are very, very high. This has been my message for today. Thank you for giving me a chance. Hope you found it interesting and valuable. Let me know in the comments. Give me feedback. What do you think? If you agree or disagree, I welcome all opinions, as long as you're respectful to the members of the community, to the mods, to me, and to everyone else for that matter. Thank you so much. Turn in the comments on. This message has been a little longer. Well, sorry, it's complicated. Not an easy task to do. Not an easy information to bring. The chat is on. Again, if you want me to have higher chances of seeing your message, put it in caps and put my name, name of the channel, Inside Russia, after the @ sign, so I will see it. Lorna is numero uno, and Mommy numero uno. Howdy, Robbie, Angela Cat, Live, Dirk, Brian, Reezus, Klaus, Joy, May, John, Golden Griffin, Carms, Luke, JTR, Black Cat, Carino, Viking, Kaltenberg, Sylvia Santi, Pentium 100 megahertz. Pretty cool name. Every time I see it, I remember the 90s. I had one of those a long time ago, 1996. Jeffrey S., John, Yodi Racer, howdy everyone, the usual suspects. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening. Hope you liked it. Well, to the questions now. Again, I can't physically say hi to everyone and call everyone's name, but I'm saying like hi to everyone collectively, so to speak. Thank you so much for joining. The first super chat from Black Cat. Thank you, my friend. Howdy. JTR, Russia is number 11 in GDP in the world. Germany is number 4 and 3 times the GDP of Russia. Italy number 9 and bigger than Russia. I don't think it's the current numbers. You wait until last year and they will be corrected. Russia is having a collapse of its economy, okay? From number 11, it's gonna jump into number 25, 35. That's my bet. Black Cat, hello and welcome to Inside Russia. Thank you so much. The freshest mod. Harry Potman is here. Harry, good to see you. Lionel Inside Russia, great message tonight. Thank you so much. Greetings. I appreciate. Finn May, why the whole world is so blind concerning China? There are so many questions I don't have answers to, and that is one of them. China is not hiding anymore. It has shown its very aggressive plans, okay? And it is very clear that it's not. We were just discussing it with Uzbek friends. Uzbekistan is having a revival in its industry. There are hundreds of huge factories are being built here. This country will start booming soon because of one single reason. It's becoming too expensive and too unpredictable to manufacture in China. Many companies move production facilities into Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and other countries, India, away from China. So the Chinese are in trouble financially. They need to sustain their growth to keep on going, to hang on to power, because it's all about power. I've seen that before. The Communist Party is Communist Party everywhere, okay? Soviet Union, China, it doesn't matter. Just trust me, they're driven by the same things. And in order to keep their power that they had amassed tremendously, they made it absolute. They need good economy. And how can they do that if their economy is falling apart? By military expansion, including into Russia, including into Taiwan, including to some other places, okay? That never fails. So good question. And I don't have the answer for that. Laura, howdy. Andrew Asen, thank you from Canada. How long will it be before Russia blows up a dirty bomb in some places like Belgorod and blames Ukraine to get Russians to won't fight? I don't know if it happens. I don't know when it happens. Time will tell. I hope it doesn't happen. My stream yesterday was about dirty bomb, so go back and watch it. But your question is, it cannot be answered. Okay, I don't know what to say. Luke King, howdy. Great message today. Very interesting. Have you considered your future plans given everything you said about Russian future? Luke, for the last month, that's all I've been doing, considering my future plans. Trust me. And it's not an easy thing to do, to redo your plans for the rest of your life, you know. And not only me, 20,000 Russians who arrived Tashkent within in the past month, you know, they're doing the same thing, they're thinking their future plans. Some are depressed, some are just dismayed, some are, Eddie, China is going into military into Russia, but they buy Russian companies and with gas and oil able to China, Russia going into a trap. That's not a question, it's a statement, and I agree. Thanks for the support and good statement. BC Books, welcome to Inside Russia, new sponsor. Howdy. Benjamin D, thank you. Switzerland. I am pretty sure that the West knows about the danger of rising China. They wait until Putin leaves to start new allegation. Russia, at least Germany. Okay, it's not a question, but a statement. Thank you. Point taken. I think it's a viable point. Jason Carney, thank you so much. You are number one. Thank you. M. Black, welcome to Inside Russia, a new sponsor. And Jason Carney has just given sponsorship of Inside Russia to 20 people. Thank you so much. Thank you 20 times from me and from every single person who you just gifted membership to. Thank you. I'll remind you that sponsors enjoy some extra information in form of a private live stream for sponsors and patrons. this is my way of saying thank you for sponsoring, and I usually give different kind of streams. I give more personal information. I give, I answer many more questions. I share things I don't share in public here with the sponsors and patrons. So please come join every Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. Damian De Silva, the West has woken up. We cannot rehabilitate rogue nations like North Korea, Syria, China, and Russia. However, I truly believe that Russia will again be allowed to redeem itself once the regime is gone. I pray for that every single day. I'm Russian. I love my country. I pray for that every single day. I pray that Russia somehow will be able to turn around and come back as a member, accepted member of international community. It's going to be a very challenging task, but I hope it can be done. The West has woken up. Well, I don't know. You see better because you are in the West. I'm not in the West, but I hope you're right. This is water, by the way. No tea today. I ran out of tea. Between Natasha and Michael, we all drink tea, and we had some large family visiting us. About 6 people. They all just basically finished my tea. That's okay. Not complaining. I'm gonna get some tomorrow morning. New sponsor, Yodi Racer. Welcome to Inside Russia. I think you were sponsor before. Devon33. Thank you so much. No message, but this is very powerful message. Thank you. You see, even sometimes I get super chats without messages, but it just shows that people value what they hear and they send money. And money is great, but knowing that some people value so much what I have to say is also great. Trust me. Andrew Welch, thank you. One of the most insightful messages yet. My question is regarding internet in Russia. Can people not look up and find, for example, your channel or others telling the truth? Or no one is interested? Now, Andrew, thank you for the money. Much appreciated. And let me tell you, I have answered this question before. It's a very good question that you answered. No, it's a very good question that you asked. Look, a lot of people say, why don't you start speaking on your channel in Russian or put Russian subtitles? Well, my mom watches my messages and Russian subtitles generated automatically. Okay, so they're there. Okay, she can read and understand everything. But the thing is, my resource is for English-speaking people. There are so many professional resources done by professional expert reporters in Russia for Russians. Well, right now, most of them are outside of Russia in the Baltic states, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. Some are in the UK, some are in Turkey, but they are there and they come up with excellent materials. I read them myself, okay? And partially that's where I get my inspiration from. And all Russians have access to those excellent media channels and information channels. There are dozens of radio stations that broadcast over YouTube. You can go directly to their websites and so forth. There, some of them are blocked, but you know what? Internet, every single of those media outlets have representation on YouTube, and YouTube is not blocked. Any Russian can go on YouTube and find all they need to know about Russian government, Ukraine, Russia, what Russia is doing in Ukraine, and so forth. It's so easy, my friend, and they are just not doing it. So that's why I don't want to compete with those excellent outlets. They employ, hundreds of people, professional reporters. They give out so much information. They sometimes even have it in English, okay, for the Russians, I guess, who speak English or whatever. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you for your support. Luke, thank you for another support. Do parts of Siberia and eastern Russia see themselves culturally closer to Moscow, Russia, or China? Could provinces try to break away to China? No, they will not break away at their own will. They do not associate, not one single Russian associates him or herself with China. Okay, China is just too foreign. It's a different culture completely. Lots of Russians, especially those who live right next to China, they realize the dangers of China, okay? And those provinces are much, much closer. Well, they are Russia. They're not even closer to Russia. They are Russia. It's just Chinese can stage something. They can. There are so many hundreds of thousands of Chinese nationals living in near border regions. They have families. Their children already not Russian. They're Chinese. Their wives and so forth. So like they culturally taking over. It's a soft expansion, we call it. They culturally taking over those regions. And then Chinese can say, hey, you know what? Look what happened in Crimea. You were defending Russians, you say, in Crimea or in Donbass or whatever in Ukraine. Well, we're going to do the same thing to your eastern provinces because so many hundreds of thousands of Chinese live in there. And somehow Chinese is not their official language. Well, that's going to be changed. Therefore, we are sending our troops. Something like that can happen. Okay. Again, I don't know whether it will or not, but that's a possibility. Manchuria used to be a part of China until 1862, and then Russians basically took it from China. Chinese can say, well, wait a second. Historically, that's our land for thousands of years. We're going to fix that. That's just a historical mistake of 150 years, What's the big deal? And they're going to use example of what Russia is doing in Crimea, in Ukraine, in Ukraine, Crimea. They can try to do the same thing, and they can just shove it right into our face. Say, that's just exactly the same thing that you did. That's what Americans did in Kosovo, whatever, That is very possible. So thank you, Luke. Rebay USA, what's your next move? Oh, I'm not going to tell you that. That's very personal. Chrissy Walker, with so much uncertainty in the world, the old lady doesn't need to see you change your mug. Is nothing sacred? That's a good one. Hang on. Don't worry. Some things are sacred. Okay, I'm not changing my mug. This is the tea mug. It's just, I'm not drinking tea. This is carafe of water. It was full of water. So that's why I'm using this mug for water. So I have not disappointed you. Koshkin Dom, howdy from Norway. Michael Heron, what a crazy gamble for Russia to take. Too much power in the hands of too few. You nailed it. Sam K, howdy from UK. Brian Stuvig, hello my friend. Howdy Brian. On trend VS, your country should apply to NATO membership to make the second world power Europe. Well, it did apply. Vladimir Putin was telling everyone that it was a done deal. It just takes time and Russia will become part of NATO. He publicly spoke about that in an interview in 2002, I remember. And it was his idea to become part of NATO. And then Russia would be accepted by the West. He wanted to be accepted. He wanted to be the good guy. He wanted to play by the rules, by the Western rules. And then by 2006, he realized that the West was not accepting Russia. And then he started just going different direction. So Russia tried to apply. I had a discussion in email with one of the members or viewers, actually. He said that Russia never applied, but Russia was waiting to be invited to NATO. Well, if Russia wanted to do that, then I think there was a way how to resolve, to meet, for the ministers of defense to meet, to discuss, to come up with an agreement and so forth. If NATO wanted Russia, there would be a way found, okay? Ferrari guy, I think the US would choke China to death as it would over Taiwan before letting a belligerent China control Russian resources. There would be a price for such police action, though. Ferrari guy, I don't know. I don't know whether the United States would do that or not. How do you imagine it would choke China? I don't think the United States can choke China now. Diane Kessler, welcome to Inside Russia. Appreciate your support. Thank you. So, Ferrari guy, I disagree with you. Please explain, how do you see the United States choking China over taking over Russian resources? China will do it in a very fast, swift move. In and stay. That's it. Proclaim it's ours now. I think it's going to be very well executed, very fast. China is not Russia. There's order in China. Chinese army is actually strong, okay, and capable. Klaus Tuver, thank you so much. Inside Russia, you're right, China are taking over Russia. They've done that in Africa. China completely rules their people. Hope USA in the West can see it and stops it. How? Klaus, I hope so too, but how? Just tell me the examples. For example, how? Military? I don't think the United States would want to clash with the Chinese in a direct military conflict, okay? How else? Cameron K, thank you so much. Since protests fail, would guys who left, except parents and anti-war still there enough to force change if it got physical as police gets in Moscow? Didn't quite understand. Are you saying the ones who left there, are they enough to make the change? No, they're not, because they didn't try anything to make change, and the ones who tried, they fled mostly. There's no one left who's capable. At least I don't believe in any protests or changes in that kind of way. For goodness sake, I saw a video of Russian parents giving their children, sons, to the army people and crying, their hearts were breaking. They weren't doing anything. After that, done. In my books, done. Russians will not do anything. What else, what worse can happen? Your child is taken away from you forcefully. What else can possibly move you more than that? New sponsor, Golden Griffon. Weren't you sponsored before? Well, thanks for joining, but I think you've been a long-time sponsor now. Again, Jason, thank you so much for 20 gifts of sponsorship. That was a good comment. Oh, we're 4 minutes over time. Bob, thinking of you. John Knox, do you think parts of Russia Russian Federation could declare independence like Bashkiristan, Tatarstan if there's a collapse. They seem to send disproportionate amount of cannon fodder. I don't know. I really don't know. Time will tell. This is just something that is really hard to say what's going to happen in the future. Pinball has your prior sinus issue. Only one stream and no free play tonight. Your T-Funds, Mr. K. Thank you, Jeffrey. Your shirts are handsome on you. Keep on keeping on. Okay. Thank you for your support. T-Fund is accepted. Thank you. With love. Pinball has your prior sinus issue. I gotta contact my brother. Only one stream and no free play tonight. That must be bad, because if he cancels the free play, then that's bad. You know what? Every time I go to bed, 1 or 2 hours before he actually starts his stream, I enjoy his streams so much, but my schedule does not leave me the slightest possibility of, like back in Russia, I could wake up after a few hours, like 4 in the morning. But now I go to bed 3 in the morning, okay? No way. Black Cat, thanks for all the legends today. It's amazing. Who are the legends? Tina, I think that's why P got so angry when Ukraine showed they wanted to join European Union. That's a very complicated topic, you know. It's definitely for 2 or 3 streams for a huge video. Cameron K, thanks for the super chat. Oh, Cameron, thanks for the super chat. I missed the super chat. If it's like a $5, it disappears quickly, you know. If I missed someone's super chat, please forgive me. I was just answering another question. PNW Pursuit, welcome to Undercover in Russia. Whoa. Undercover is highest tier. Thank you so much. And looks like you have given the gift of sponsorship to 20 people. Thank you so much. PNW, thank you. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Tom W, how is that other Russians don't see that through China like you do? You know what? A good question. I am lost somewhat because so many questions I ask, to me, they're so obvious. The answers are so obvious, and other Russians don't understand. They look at me like I'm crazy, okay? I don't know. It's so obvious that what China is doing to me. It's obvious to me what China is doing, okay? But makes 2 of us. I don't understand why they're not seeing it. Steve Jones, thank you so much. Are protests increasing in Russia? No, they have died. Russian government squeezed all the protesters. There hasn't been a protest since March. No one is protesting. Jason Carney has just given sponsorship to 10 more people. Jason, 30. That's insane. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. JTR, please respect with your comments the members of this community. You know, same goes for John Hartley. I see that Mommy K and Lorna hit the questions. Airborne Snail, thanks for highlighting China's true nature. I'm very worried about their future actions. And one more thing, I have nothing against Chinese people. I've met a few nice people, not sinister. They love, they love, they have fun, they drink, they're I can't say they're just like us. They have different culture, but they're good. Okay, but their government is not good. Just like Russia, same thing. If you go and look at Russians in a province somewhere, you will find excellent heart, welcoming people, very nice ones. But the Russian government, Klaus, I hope USA and Russia can make a deal. Me too. Trust me. I want them to make a deal. I want de-escalation. I want Russian troops out of Ukraine. I want Ukraine rebuilt. I want Russia rebuilt. I want lives lost. Okay, there's nothing we can do about that. We cannot bring people back, but at least we can stop the bloodshed now and try to keep on living, somehow rebuild our lives. So me too. I hope so too. Vicky McCollum, have some tea with your wife. Will do. Thank you so much, Vicky. For now, I'll have some water. Thank you. I see that's 11 minutes already. So it's time to finish up and pray. Let's make it a good prayer. Rostov-on-Don, we would never lose hope. Thank you so much. Thank you. Praying for peace. Klaus, thank you so much. Adam, Oliver. Yeah, let's pray for peace today. Just it's much needed. Last super chat is from York Asmussen. Thank you. Good wishings. Just watched Roman mention in Germany grants work permissions to Russians. Thank you. I know that. I'm very well aware. Thank you so much. That issue has been discussed. Not issue, but that thing has been discussed. I just watched Roman's video too, like an hour ago. I like Roman. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him, but I like the guy. Slava told me about him too. Anyway, my friends, thank you very much for coming to hear today's message. I really appreciate you being here and just supporting me by being here and listening to what I have to say and watching what I have to say. Thank you so very much. I finish every stream with prayer, and I would like to finish this stream with prayer as well. Let's do it. Let's pray for peace. Because it's very, very much needed now. Not just between Russia and Ukraine, but peace in the world. Because, I don't know, I don't think it's just me. I think the world is becoming a very crazy place. Sometime in the past, I feel we took a wrong turn. Most of us. Dear God, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for giving us these lives. Thank you for giving us your support and your help. Please help our children, keep them safe and healthy. Give us wisdom to raise them. When they grow up, they will make this place a better world and will never fight each other. Please. Well, thank you for giving us, putting food on our tables today, giving us roofs over our heads, and surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Please help stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. Reach out people who can make this decision and do whatever you know needs to be done. Reach out and touch their hearts, fill them with love, mercy, make the hearts softer, give them forgiveness. Do what you need to know needs to be done so they make this right decision. Help every single person in Ukraine who has been affected by this tragedy. Give them strength to get through this. Give them forgiveness. Give them recovery. Cure them. Just make their lives better in the way that you know how to make them better. Answer their prayers and make their wishes come true, please. Send every single person in Ukraine an angel, so that angel protects and keeps person out of harm's way. Please help my country, Russia. Send strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael, to get rid of the demons that have hijacked my country. Make it run by the angels. Make it shine. Make it righteous. Make it a good friend and neighbor to everyone. Please do that. I would like to pray for peace. God, reach out to every single one of us and put common sense into our heads. So we wake up, we start doing the right things, we start not letting bad things happen. We realize the truth, and we don't let wars to happen. We don't let the bloodsheds to happen. We don't let loss of human lives happen. Please, help us, make us smarter, make us wiser, make us stronger, make us more courageous so we can change things. Please, stop bloodshed. Give us all peace. Stop the escalations. Stop the bad plans of bad people. Stop them right now, where they are standing at this point. We need peace because most of us, well, all of us are good inside, and we all love our spouses, parents, family members, friends, our children, and we're loved. We don't need to fight wars. We don't need to kill other people. We don't need to seize power. Please keep us away from that. Give us wisdom. Give us courage. Give us smarts to be peaceful. Thank you. I am also asking for pregnant women who are trying to make a decision to keep babies or not. Please reach out and talk to them so they make the right choice. Also thanking you for this community. Thank you for bringing us all together and allowing us to pray together. Please help everyone who is praying right now or watching us pray. Answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Would like to I would like to ask for people who reached out and asked for help. They need help. Please shine your glory into them. They are Elena, Natasha, Jake, Michael, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Bonnie, Galina, Igor, Buzz, Jean-Paul, Paula, Janine, Michael Milkevitz, Marlene, Susan, Fiona, Madeline, Narnia Lady, Stephen, Ellen, Freddie, Sabrina, Felicia, Paul Bins, Brett Chess, family of Rudy Kaisley, Richard, Robert Morgan's sister, Mallory M., Dirk Misler and his father, James Rhodes, Black Cat, Ian, Cindy Braddock, Jess Terry, Brittany S., Lars Henrik, Lane Hankins, Reese Gray, Bridget Apley, Hannah and her children, Richard Burris, James Ace, Angelica at Life, Scan Family Grandson, Grace, Barb, SC 2216, and daughter Lori, China Bell, Brian McManus, Verlinda Allen's niece, who's suffering from addiction, Rafaela Fromm and her daughter Anna, Priscilla, Michelin, King Nero, Gaby Hyman, Martin, Joanne, Donald, Allison Dave Moyes, Liz, Deborah, Isabel Ligaw, Janice Burgess, Maureen M. and her sister Golden Griffon, Geeky's granddad, Terry Carter, Ariana, Terry Scrugg, Bruce, Kayleen, Michael, Thomas, Tony, Bob, Jessica, Minutes to Midnight, Sandra Workman and her husband Rod, Mr. Hanson, Heidi Howitz, Carol Reed, Jacob with his bad addiction, Umel and Jennifer, Bruce's friend Andrea, Rob, MTG Gaming Bob, Ashley's family, Florine G, Cosmision, Matt from Florida. I'm praying for Mr. Dean Spooner and his church called Our Savior Lutheran Church. Barry Reading sister, Leslie Fleming. And I also want to specifically ask for children who need your help. They're Harry's son, Maverick, Sebastian, and Coulter. Please help them and help their families who need your help and waiting for your help. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. My friends, thank you very much for coming, for listening to my message, for conversing. It means so much to me, and thank you very much for joining me in prayer. Thank you. And before I sign off, Carthago delende est.